Watercolor has been a part of my artistic practice, shall we say, for the past about maybe 5 or 6 years. And over that time, I've collected a good number of paints, but I just feel like it's inconvenient to switch between different brands all the time because they're in different palettes, and I don't always have everything that I'm looking for convenient to me, so it becomes a little bit of a hassle. And I wanted to create a palette of everything that is actually beneficial to an easy workflow, which will hopefully make me want to paint more. So this is the set that I started with. It's a Pelican set. I'm pretty sure these are student grade. Comes with 2 water cups, this little palette, and these are like full pans, which is what I really like. This is actually my second one of these. My first one I left in my apartment at school, and I hit pan on the top row of these. I really rarely use these bottom ones, but on the top row I had totally like hit pan on my first set of these. So these I actually still really like for the first few layers of painting because they're not so intense, so it's hard to mess up in that way. With watercolors, obviously, like, you can always add more on top if you're using a paint that layers well, but you can't really take away unless you're really into lifting techniques and stuff like that. But again, like, it's never going to be the exact same. So I do like starting off paintings with paints that are a little less aggressive, shall we say, I don't know, just because I prefer layering techniques, and I like to build layers of like luminosity and different colors layered on top of each other to grow what I'm doing. So this is what I normally will start with. However, I want to build a palette of colors that are more intense for the second half of my painting when I start to get into intense colors. That's what I'm gonna do here. So first, I just bought these new Vinci professional paint tubes, and I wanted to fill them in little pans like this. I did this one last night, so I'll insert a clip of that. These paint tubes that I got while I was abroad, they're from a paint store that called Zecchi in Florence, and that's like an art store that's been around since the Renaissance, which is where I also got the Schminke palette because Schminke paints are way more accessible in Europe, and I got the one that just has the top row of pans, and I'll show you those in a sec. That the Da Vinci paints came in when they came in the mail, and I'll probably just keep storing all of my tubes in here. I let these dry overnight. These are not totally dry, they're still a little squishy. They're not wet anymore, so they'll serve. And then these ones are dry, the ones from Florence, which definitely seem to be a bit of a lower quality, but that's to be expected because I honestly don't even know what's in here. It was sort of just the fun of like buying it at that store that's so historic. I did dots of alizarin crimson and Prussian blue on here because if I like them, I might fill full pans with them because these are colors that I really love for mixing. So what I have here is this palette, which is the one I want to fill, and this is my old Schminke palette, which housed these colors in little half pans. And I want to combine my favorite Schminke colors with my favorite White Nights colors, which were originally in here. Alright, so this is the empty palette minus these little dots that I made. And so obviously all of these paints are not gonna be able to fit in, so I have to swatch everything and see what I want to actually keep in here. So these are all my White Nights colors. The second row are colors that I found that I haven't really been using much. So they're colors that I think I might be okay with parting with, but I want to swatch them one more time to make sure. These are all my Schminke colors, minus this one, which is another of those, the ones from the art store in Florence, Zecchi, and it's in Purple Lake, just because I didn't have this color, and I thought that would be fun to get. And these are all my Da Vinci colors, minus the alizarin crimson and Prussian blue. What I want to do here is make some sections, swatch them all out. golden also is a color that I'm considering not keeping because I looked online for just to see if any of the colors were fugitive, and golden seemed to be the one that was the most fugitive in the entire palette. And I feel like I could just mix this color myself with, you know, yellow and red. So I just wanted to help myself out a little bit and see if any of these colors actually were gonna help me make my decision. I'm really not a fan of this cobalt blue. I do not think that will be making it in. This yellowish green is like really pretty and it kind of looks like a toxic waste-ish color, which is fun, but I just don't really use it. I feel like I never use raw sienna in many of my work, I'm gonna be real, so I don't think I would want that in here either. I'm more of a burnt sienna fan. This really is such a beautiful black shade, but I feel like I love mixing my own blacks and I don't work in black and white very often, so I feel like this would do better in a separate palette. So now I'm gonna do the Schminke colors. So what I'm learning from these swatches is that this paper is horrible and probably is kind of sucking up some of the vibrancy in these colors, so definitely not going to use it to do my official swatches when I make my palette, but I guess for now it'll do just for picking colors and seeing which I prefer. Schminke versus White Nights. So these are all the ones that came in the Schminke set originally, and then these are the ones I added. I'm a big fan of Alizarin Crimson, so that was added. That's definitely going in. Oh, I just love indigo as a color. I feel like cobalt turquoise should make it in just because it'll help me diversify what colors I use, because honestly, I mostly just use red, yellow, and blue and mix all my own colors. I feel like gold watercolor paint looks so pretty when it's wet because it's like shifting and shimmering, and then it dries kind of eh. Yeah, this paper sucks. I really wish I had access to my nice watercolor papers, but alas, I had to leave New York rather quickly. So these are the White Nights and the Schminke paints. And now I need to go into the paints that are extraneous. So first we're gonna do the Italian watercolors. I'm gonna start with the Purple Lake, and I've never swatched this before, so I'm excited to see what the dealio is. Oh, wow, that's so beautiful. I love that. And these are the dots I squeezed out from the tubes. So these three are honestly pretty weak. This is the only one I would consider putting in. The pen's definitely going in though, but out of the tubes, these are a little disappointing. I might put them in a palette of like student grade colors where it would be with, I don't know, colors with similar tinting strength. And then here comes the fun part for me, which is the Vinci's. So I want to start with, since I'm already here, Alizarin Crimson and Prussian Blue, to see if I want to make them my main mixing colors in the final palette, or if I want to go with the other brands for those two colors. Oh, wow. That's really beautiful. I love that. There's Prussian Blue. Oh, okay, that's definitely the Prussian Blue I'm using. Sorry to all the casualties. This Alizarin Crimson is Alizarin Crimson quinacridone, I believe. So it's not quite as crimson. You can probably see the difference here. So this is like the Schminke one versus this. This is a lot more like quinacridone, obviously. I could probably have both of those and they would serve different purposes. Yeah, this one definitely like higher chroma. So for these colors, I was half inspired by just looking at the colors and swatches and thinking about where I want my watercolor works to go, and you know, wanting colors that can become more intense, and then also half inspired by my oil painting routine. So quinacridone red and raw umber are both colors that I use a lot in my oil painting, so I wanted to see if I could translate that into my watercolors, because oil paint's probably my most confident medium. Phthalo turquoise and parylene green were colors that because they can get so dark yet they're not black, I was very interested in them. Oh wow. Violet Iron Oxide is one that I picked because I saw a YouTuber use it. I believe it was in liquid color, and it just granulated really beautifully, and I am not super knowledgeable about granulation, and I want to become more, I guess, educated and figure out how to incorporate it into my work, or if I even like it before I dive in the deep end and, you know, get a bunch of granulating colors. So I figured this would be a fun place to start. So honestly, with these colors, I do think that they are probably all going in. They're beautiful and I love them. Quinacridone Red doesn't have quite the strength that I was hoping. It doesn't have the same like punch that the oil paint Quinacridone Red has. I don't know if that's a fault of the Da Vinci paints or if it's just that this is watercolor and not oil paint. Maybe the pigment reacts differently, I don't know, but I do think this Prussian blue is definitely my favorite Prussian blue out of the ones I have, and Phthalo Turquoise and Perylene Green are very exciting colors to have. And the Quin Violet, obviously you can see that I've been trying to find a color like this that I love, and I do honestly think that the Purple Lake pan might be taking the cake, but I might just put both because I love those kinds of warm purples way more than purples that lean towards like the dioxazine side. I tend to use a purple like this way more than something like this, which is like much cooler. All right, so now that I have everything down, I can start figuring out what I actually want to put in. I want to start with my mixing colors, which would be red, yellow, and blue. I do like the lemon yellow Schminke a lot, so I want to add that in. And I also quite like cad yellow from White Nights. I do feel like I need a warmer yellow as well, but I don't really love the cadmium yellow medium from White Nights for some reason. I mean, if I finish these two, I'll use it just because I have it, but I don't love it. And the Schminke one is like weirdly opaque, I think. Like it really covered that number up. So I think for now I might just work with these two. They're not super cold yellows. I mean, the lemon yellow is obviously a cooler yellow, but I think the White Nights one should be fine. And if I find that there's an issue, I'll just add it later. So for reds, I think I definitely like the alizarin from Schminke, but I also do want to try the Da Vinci one. Because it's a quinacridone shade, I do want to see if I actually love it before I commit to a full pan, so I'm going to start with a half pan. Though this could be the sort of punchier quinacridone color that I was looking for. Maybe mixing this with the regular quinacridone red will sort of bring me closer to the color that I'm comfortable with from oil paint. I think the reason that I hadn't been using these Schminke paints is because obviously they're so expensive that I became really like precious with them. And I shouldn't be, because why would you pay for something if you're not even going to use it? And hopefully all the artwork that I would make with them would be more valuable to me than the cost of the paints. And I don't mean like selling wise, I just mean like for my own personal happiness. I would hope that the art that comes out of it is worth the money and the enjoyment that I get from making art. So I have my alizarins. I do think I should have some form of like cadmium red. So I am actually gonna move these over and put in cadmium red light from Schminke because it is, I think, a pretty good cadmium red. Just in case I want a warmer red. I think red has become a color that I've become much more appreciative than I used to be. I used to be pretty shy of just like a pure like punchy red. So I think I'll actually use the cadmium red a lot more than I would have in the past. Whereas I mostly just use alizarin crimson, which I find because it's like a cooler red, it's a lot less of an aggressive color. But now I kind of like that aggressiveness of red. And then following that, I just want to add, I guess, my quinacridone red from Da Vinci. With the blues here, I do feel like the White Nights one was pretty solid, so I want to add the ultramarine from that. I also obviously loved the Prussian blue from Da Vinci, so I'm going to fill actually a full pan of that because it is gorgeous, and I actually think it's nicer than the Schminke one, which is cool because these were super accessible. I ordered them online and they came super quickly. I just ordered it off their website. I want to sort of set up all the colors that I know I need before I start adding any colors that I think will be really fun. So I think, as well as these two, I really love indigo. Lovely. I think that the Schminke one is like, I want to explore that one more and see which one I really do like more. All right, they're both going in. F it. Get in there. So that's red, yellow, blue, and then I'll start putting in some secondaries underneath. So I'm gonna put Viridian. Ooh. Just because I know I love it for mixing, as well as this emerald green color because it's quite similar to Viridian, and I want to see how they'll play together. I also definitely want this Perylene green and Phthalo turquoise. Similarly to those colors and those more olivey greens, I do want to put permanent green olive and the color that White Nights just calls green. I do really like green, so hopefully I'll use these, and if not, I'll take them out. So next to the greens, I want to put the violets or purples. So I definitely want the Purple Lake, what a favorite this is, as well as the Quinacridone Violet, Da Vinci Purple Magenta from Schminke, but I'll add Madder Red Light in as well. I'm gonna put the oranges and stuff with the sort of earth tones. Definitely Titian Red, English Red, which is the English/Venetian Red. And I also like the Venetian Red from Schminke, which is pretty different actually. It's a bit more cool. I really like the Violet Iron Oxide and the Raw Umber. From White Nights again, I wanna grab Burnt Umber and Sepia. I guess I'll throw one yellow ochre in here and just see if I ever use it. It's a half pan, so it's not too big of a commitment. That's the Schminke one. But I just feel like I honestly just don't use yellow ochre in any of my work. I have both sepias in here actually, the Schminke one and the White Nights. I feel like they're a little bit different. As far as black goes, I'm probably only gonna put one in. Oh, I forgot that I wanted to put cobalt turquoise here, so actually, okay, that's like horribly shoved in, but it's in. Let's see if that holds. I hate when there's extra spaces in the paints like jingle around. It's like a giant pet peeve of mine, but I don't know if that's gonna actually just make it worse. We'll see. Should I add a gold? For now, I'll add it. And then on the last row, I'm gonna add some random colors that I'm thinking about. So I'm gonna have violet, which is the more dioxazine violet, cadmium red light, which is like just a bright orange, honestly. I'm gonna add Schminke's carmine in just to see how I feel about it. I don't have a carmine in here yet. I don't know if this is actually made out of beetles, that would be interesting, but I know that that's what the pigment carmine usually is. So, yum. I'm gonna add phthalo green. I feel like this row is not gonna get used too much. I guess I'll add ultramarine from Schminke as well because it's a different ultramarine. What I am wondering is if this will actually stay in a pan, because one time I tried putting it in a pan and it kind of sucked. It like crumbled out of the pan. It's getting one more chance because I do like it. I'm just gonna add a little bit and see if it will crack out. It would be a shame if these could only be used straight out of the tube because I am way too lazy to ever use paint out of the tube. I always like my paint to be in pans for watercoloring. You know what, I'll add the more opaque yellow from Schminke and the Prussian blue down here just because I don't like pans jingling around, so I want to fill up this row. What's one more I can add? You know what, I will add the yellowish green and see if I use it. Maybe I'll do a toxic slime looking painting or something. So this is my new sort of master palette of my higher quality paints. So what's left to do for this is make a swatch card of everything that's like officially in this palette. Probably leave the last, 3 empty just because those seem like they're gonna ship over the next few days if this one doesn't work out. And I obviously need better paper than this because this is bad. It makes all the paints look horrible. Let me grab some nicer paper and we can make an official watch card for this palette. Alright, so I have a scrap piece of Arches paper, or Arche, I don't know, the nice shit. Basically I'm gonna cut to size. What I want to do here is mark out where everything is. I'm not going to do big swatches. I'm just going to do little marks of what the color is, and then I'm going to go in with a thin pen and say what everything is. I'm going to be using S for Schminke, V for Van Gogh, K for White Nights, because Nights, and Z for the Italian paints, which are from Zecchi. Got all my mixing colors as well as my 2 indigos. Yeah, you can really see on this paper the differences between the brands. Like this is the Schminke alizarin versus the Van Gogh one. Obviously the Schminke one is a lot less aggressive as this one. This one has a lot more like pure pigment. So the Schminke one would honestly be easier for beginners who are learning because it's a lot harder to overdo it with that one than it is with this one. But I feel like this one has color intensity that I'm not sure if the Schminke one could achieve. So they're good for, you know, different things. Alright, so I'm leaving the last two spaces open because I want to deciding over those last two colors whether I like them or not. This is what I have going for my palette. The top row is obviously the one I'm going to be using the most, and then it sort of just goes down from importance, I guess, for me. I do use purpley tones, purpley pink tones, and cool green tones a lot, so those I want towards the top as well, and then some earth tones that I like, and the bottom row is just kind of like stuff that I'll probably use at some point. Just because I have the space for it, but I might replace them with other paints if I ever get new paints or anything, and just put a new strip on top of the bottom or something of paper. With the top row, with the mixing colors, if anybody's confused sort of why I picked the reds and yellows that I did and why it's important to have a cool red and a warm red and a cool blue and a warm blue, etc., I can totally make a video on how to make a palette that you can basically get any color from and not have it lean in like a muddy direction, which definitely is something that's you learn with time and a lot of experience, but like I was definitely helped a lot in the beginning with that, so I think it is important. So last night I did this sketch of I rewatched the 1995 Pride and Prejudice, and I really love Colin Firth, Mr. Darcy. So I did a sketch of him with this purple Colorase pencil. It's in violet. I don't know if you can see that. And I started it, did the first initial washes with my Pelican palette because, like I said, I do enjoy using it in the beginning of pieces because the washes stay light and luminous. And so I feel like I have a lot more control with that in the beginning when I'm trying to get more subtlety in before I go in with any dark colors. So what I want to do with my new palette is finish this off. We'll also be using this tiny blow dryer I have to dry layers. I literally only use this for painting. I don't know how anyone could do their hair with this. It's tiny. So I put my sketchbook, which is the Pentalic Nature Sketch. I've just started using this, so I don't know everything about it, but so far it's pretty alright. I put it on a tilt because my washes are a lot easier to make and keep smooth when you're on a tilt and you let gravity help you. So I'm starting off with Phthalo Turquoise and going in. I don't know if this has been happening to a lot of other people with their art, but for me, I've been finding that having a few things that I really like makes me a lot more productive than being overwhelmed by a bunch of, you know, new cool things or whatever, but I'm not like as comfortable with them. There's still like a learning curve. And obviously like it's fun to try stuff out and it's fun to, you know, expand a lot, but I find that my piece becomes more about discovering the new medium than about, you know, the actual art of the piece, maybe? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm definitely a big advocate of like, you can make whatever supplies you have work and you don't necessarily need to be going around buying a lot of new things. I definitely, like I bought all these paints, you know, over the past 5 years, and it's like, I definitely could have still been making finished works with my old student grade set, and I did that for probably like the first 3 years. I just decided that I was ready to start integrating some new stuff. So my final impressions of working with this palette, obviously I didn't get to all the colors. I mostly used the phthalo turquoise, indigo, quinacridone red, and perylene green for the main colors, as well as just like mixing in my primaries. But it was actually really fun working with these colors, and I didn't feel like I had to, you know, get out like 500 different palettes. I actually like mixing brands like this. I think it can kind of get the best of what each brand has to offer. Yeah, because I mean, the reason there are so many different brands is because they each cater to a different audience. If you're looking for something to watch, I recommend 1995 Pride and Prejudice. It's on Hulu or pirate it. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not the police. And yeah, here's my new palette. Thanks for watching. And if you like this, I guess leave a like, subscribe, I don't know. And if anyone's interested more in the theory of how to put together mixing palettes for primaries, like what type of primaries, let me know. And yeah, thanks for watching.